Welcome to the Road is Dead podcast. I'm your host, Rob Curtis, here at Simet Central. Joining me is
Leah Sanda.
And joining us remotely,
Strelecki.
And we were doing a little talking before this started up, and you guys were talking about watching some racing lately. I just didn't. We keep talking and talking and talking when the cameras are off and no one's recording. And then it's like, this would actually be decent to talk about. So you said you had you were talking about some race.
Is it salmon?
Leah Sanda.
Salmon. Yeah, that was 2 days ago.
Yeah.
I watched the women's race, and the next day I watched the replay on the men's race because I had heard that Matthew Van Der Poel had decided last minute, hey guys, I'm going to show up and race. And that was, that was a good race. Watching the women's race, other than the fact that I enjoyed watching the finish and the lead into the sprint, because who doesn't like watching that part of the race? I wouldn't say that anything particularly stood out in the race.
You don't think the 6 crashes in the last 20K stood out? That always happens.
I'll be honest.
Every women's race that I watched.
Is this the one that you told us to watch that I ended up watching part of that Skylar was in?
That's right. Skylar Schneider was in the race, and she did not make the final cut for the group that went in for the finish. This might be her first race now with the crew over there in Europe. So,
SD Works, yes.
Yeah, SD Works. So, I tuned in because I was like, oh, look, Skylar's racing. The crashes, I didn't
see crashes.
I didn't watch every minute of the race. I skipped. I just leapfrogged and stuff and was looking for significant things that were happening in the race. And then maybe I would back up and watch how things developed. So I think I missed.
They typically happen towards the finale when things are going faster. And it's just crash after crash after crash. Now, granted, it's not like that in every women's race. And especially this race, these roads are notoriously narrow, shitty pavement, cobblestone section. So there's a lot that can throw these riders off. But it seems like a lot of the women's racing that I watched, there's quite a few crashes within the last 20 to 30K. And it takes a lot of good people out of it. But they're exciting as hell.
And I don't know if this is a fair... it's just more of a question, is for races like this that aren't like the big races, do they tend to put maybe their less experienced racers in?
Oh, I would say to some extent, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, no, if you've got like 20 people on your team, you might choose these 6 that maybe aren't your most experienced 6. You had Lorena Wiebes but you do have some of the bigger racers, but maybe some of the other, more, B group side of the team that you want to get in there and get more experience on a less important race. And so maybe that's what we were seeing a little of.
Yeah, and I think these fields are mixed with more continental level teams than World Tour teams. So there's a lot of different, the talent level is vastly different throughout the entirety of the field, which leads to different things happening, obviously. But I've been watching this race for probably the last 3 to 4 years, and it's always exciting.
Yeah, a really tight course.
Yeah.
I can see
terrible road conditions.
Yeah. Oh my God. The amount of hazards that they have to navigate around, and so narrow, and it's like, ooh. It's not cobbles. It's not the cobbles that are the issue. It's the big things jutting in.
I really do love this time of year. It's cycling television is really, really good.
Yeah.
But with Van Der Poel being there, it was pretty much like, okay, we're all racing for second.
I loved that he was out there throwing down attacks, his whole team was super active, and attacks and counterattacks, and other teams. Then all of a sudden, the first lap looked like it was kind of a snoozer, and then it started to really light up, and then the whole rest of the race, it was pretty exciting to watch. And then of course the final was not surprising. he's just good at everything, really.
He really is. He really is. He's the perfect all-around bike rider and racer. Multidisciplinary.
Yeah.
It's quite.
How old is he
quite a
now?
sight.
32?
30?
28?
I think he's 30. I think he's 30. I think he just turned 30 last year.
Wow.
Must be nice.
So he's like at the prime age. He's got this 3. He's in 30 to 33. What is this? I don't even know what they say your prime is, but I would imagine he's right on top of it. And the sky's the limit for this guy. If he wins mountain bike worlds, what's left for this guy?
I mean, the amount of experience he's amassed by this point, and we all know how bike racing is. It's one thing to be a strong rider, but if you're not a smart rider, that doesn't.
Right.
You might get a win once in a while, but man, he really obviously has gotten very smart.
Oh yeah. I mean, he's got a good team around him, guys that take care of him, and he's not, he's not afraid to, share the workload or give it back to his teammates, which is cool. You want to see that from a guy like that.
Meanwhile, we were watching some race over the weekend. I don't remember what race it was. And Wout, on the other hand, is looking almost like he's past his prime.
I kind of wonder.
He's saying, from what I read, he's noticeably got less power in his right leg.
Oh, from the accident last year?
Than he's had in years past.
Interesting.
So there's probably something struggling with that. But yeah, I mean, it's early. I mean, he's not, I don't think he's where he was at this point last year in terms of his fitness, but we'll see. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. The cool thing is there's so many other capable riders besides the two of them that can do really good things this year, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah.
It really is. So,
yep.
We'll see. Not that I pay too much attention to road.
It's road season.
Well,
no, I know.
And the weather is still kind of so it's like, I'm going to sit here in the morning, drink coffee, and watch bike racing.
Hey, bike racing on the TV is bike racing on the TV. I do like watching bike racing on the TV, but I have found, I think I've mentioned it before, I go through phases where it's like I love watching bike racing and other times where it's just noise in the background. My brain's going 1,000 miles an hour to thinking about other stuff I need to be doing and everything else. And I'm kind of in one of those modes right now. So I'll put it on just out of obligation, but I'm not getting much out of it from watching it. I mean, other than the light or the colors, the speed, and,
Yeah, I oscillate between really tuning in. Sometimes it's on in the background while I'm doing stuff in the kitchen. And then all of a sudden I'll hear, and then I'm like, wait, what just happened? I'll go back and reverse. But
yeah, but I mean, even when you do that, you feel like you missed out on a lot because, there was a lot of things that led up to it that if you were paying attention to, it would be cool and you would understand the nuance of it. But if you're just tuning in for the big things, you don't get the feel of the vibe of the race at all. So I always feel like, well, I watched it, but I didn't really watch it,
Now, if you paid attention to your group text feed,
you can't
Rob,
do
how
both.
dare you
cannot do both. I have said this and I will say it again. You cannot do both.
Watch the race and watch the
No, because it's just, unless I did find this out. Sorry, I got something going on with my throat. I'm like a little bit of a sore throat. So it may not have been Stratz, it may have been me. Who knows?
No.
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 The
my fingers firmly pointed to Aurora.
To Aurora. If I'm watching it on my phone and then the texts keep coming across on the phone, then I can see it. But I usually put it on the TV, so it's like I have to keep looking back and forth, and then I don't actually see what's going on because Kenny texts a little bit like he talks when it comes to when he's covering a race. So it's that constant so you can't really watch the race if you keep going back and looking. But I've been trying to make an effort. So
no, that's why I have to have it on my laptop to watch it, and that way I can do both. I can follow and text and watch it, because it has to be on separate devices.
Yeah.
If it's on my phone, I can watch it on my phone,
But you
but
can't text
to
back.
switch back and forth
Right.
between
That's
texting
annoying.
and watching is that's annoying.
But then the if I have it on the text and I'm watching it on the TV, switching back and forth with my eyes is annoying. And then if there's a pause, and just too long of a pause, it's just long enough for my phone to shut off, and then it lights up again. Then I got to unlock it, go back into it. It's just like
I set my display to never time out for those for the races, so that I can just leave it open. Yeah, no, that's the trick. Anyway,
let's figure this stuff out.
Yeah, so we all rode our bikes last weekend in the same place. Do we want to talk about that?
Oh, we definitely want to talk about it. So I kind of alluded to it. We watched the race while we were down there, but last weekend was Dirty South Roubaix race run out of Alto Pass.
Yes.
Illinois, which is essentially Arkansas.
It's a 5-hour drive south from Chicago, at least from my house, probably further by you, but yeah, it's way down there. It's way down there. Illinois is a long state.
It is.
And Carbondale.
Yeah. Past Carbondale, which is like nutty, because I thought Carbondale was on the edge of the earth. But, going down there, I love going down there. It's beautiful. I do always forget. It's just like southern Indiana. I mean, it's just beautiful down there. And
very hilly, very heavily wooded. It's a national forest, the Shawnee National Forest. It is gorgeous. And the course, I had forgotten, either they didn't have all the water crossings last year, or I completely forgot about them, all the little splashes through the water. And that always makes me happy, because that's fun.
Giddy.
Yeah.
You like wet feet?
My feet don't get, that wasn't enough water for my feet to get wet.
Yeah.
Little splash, but not much.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't hit them as fast as you do, but I usually go no breaks into that.
There were two, I think, coming out of maybe the Trail of Tears that I had to brake really hard for, because I didn't pre-ride and I didn't know them, and they look like pretty steep drop in, pretty steep little, chunky on the way out. So I'm like, I'm not going to hit this full speed, so I just and then splashed
after the rest stop on the way back up into town.
I don't know. It was all blur to me.
Yeah.
It was all blur to me. I was really focused on trying not to get lost, because the map that I downloaded for the race, when I was following it, usually the map gives me little turn-by-turn prompts, and whatever, 100 feet, turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right. And it wasn't doing that. It was just this arrow following a map. And I'm like, okay. And I realized this early on. So I was thinking to myself, okay, you have to be very diligent and look for all the arrows, all of them. Don't miss an arrow, or you're going to be off course. And luckily, that team does, the race promoters and the team that run that race do a fantastic job of marking that course. And
that was really well. It was really well marked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic job. I never missed a turn. And all the road the major road crossings were policed and manned with volunteers, so that was awesome. Real safe. It's good. Good time.
Yeah, I would say that was about as good as a organization and races they could do. Now they keep it, I would say, small. They keep the event small, so as not to overwhelm the already small resources of Alto Pass. I mean, that it has a population of 400. Did I see
400 people? Yeah.
So I mean, you can say it's close to Carbondale, but that's kind of like saying, I don't know, Chicago is close to Wisconsin. It's still a drive to get to Carbondale. So not a lot of civilization, so to speak, down there. So I don't even really know. I mean, thank God no one was hurt that I know of. But if somebody got hurt, I don't know what the reaction time for any of that would be.
Yeah.
But let's not think about that.
No, that seemed like they really were prepared and well organized.
There was an ambulance there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
it was fantastic.
Yeah, no, it's nice to get that part of state. Climbing was good. I don't know. Tim, were you giving a recap for? Sorry, I was getting text from my wife and it almost sounded like something happened to her at work, so I needed to check it out.
No, that's fine. I wasn't giving a recap, and it's just
we'll give a recap.
Okay. The whistle goes off. We are nonchalantly riding our bikes, very slow for I don't know what it is, whatever it is, 5-10 miles. And, there's a lot of chirping going on in the group, like complaining that the race is slow and slower than last year. And I don't have a tendency to get involved in that because, why bother? It's about to pop off any minute.
Yeah.
So you gotta be prepared for that.
It's coming.
And then, just manage to try to stay up towards the front because, the move is coming. And then, it eventually did. I don't know at what mile, but someone lit it up on a downhill, on a fast gravel descent, which strung things out. And then from there, it was just, super fast. I had to work real hard to make the front group, got in that group, and then we started climbing proper. Probably 10 miles in, there's that one, long, steep switchback that feels like it just kept going on forever and ever and ever. And then that's where things like really, really exploded. And I found myself inside the top 5 or 6, maybe 7th. And then, a couple of riders rode away. I was riding next to Paige Onweller for a while, which was really rad because she's, super strong female racer in the Lifetime Series. That was pretty cool. And then she was like, okay, I got work to do here. And she downshifted and, took off, which was cool to see. She bridged up to the riders that were in front. And then I linked up with Jim Flora, who's local here. He used to race road with the Burnham guys. He's turned into a big gravel dog, so he does that nowadays. And we linked up for a while, and we were rolling. We got out of the first section, past or to the short part of the levee, and we could kind of see the lead group of 5. And we were him and I were rotating nicely to try to like bridge up. They weren't too far ahead, but just far enough where 2 was a stretch to make it. And then we were doing our best to ward off the chasing like 6 or 7 that were behind us. We were like equidistant between the 2 packs, like equal between the front pack, and the distance was the same to the chasers behind. So we got onto the levee proper and we're rolling, and then someone popped off of the lead group. We picked him up. And then right after the levee, when we kind of snaked through the neighborhood before the Silica Creek Trail, the very bottom portion of the course, where you turn left onto the B road and you start climbing, that guy we were with dropped off. Jim and I were still together. And then there comes a really steep part after you climb for a while. There's a really, really, really like steep grind. And I managed to roll the whole thing, and Jim I think he hit a rock and like his bars turned and he had to dab, and then he succumbed to dismounting and running, and by then I was up over the top, and I was on my own for a while, or for the rest of the race. So like 37 miles in, I was solo, which I didn't think was a very good idea at the time. Just knowing what the distance that lied ahead, not knowing the terrain of what lied ahead, the winds we were facing, and if my computer was actually going to direct me in the right direction. That was my biggest fear.
Right.
But no one ever, I kept going and kept going and going. Just, I could, it was actually really nice for me because I'm not one that can do the, surge sit, surge sit, surge sit, surge sit. I can't do that for 6 hours at a time or 3 hours at a time. So it was nice to be on my own. I could just tempo my climbs, descend how I wanted to descend confidently, find my lines, choose my lines, not have to worry about, people dive bombing the insides and chopping you, or just the sketchy nature that people have a tendency to have in gravel these days. So I could ride my own lines, gain time there. And then on the flats, I could just sit in a nice sustained effort, not too hard, not too easy. But I kept looking over my shoulder, every 5 or so miles, and nobody was in sight. So I'm like, okay, at first it was like, this may work out. And then it became, this is kind of working out. And then eventually it ended up being, oh, this is going to work out. I'm going to make it.
Yeah.
And, I kept knowing what lied ahead. So I had to I pre-rode the day before, like a half hour out from the finish line. So I knew what lied ahead, past where you guys had stayed, your Airbnb, which in the screaming tailwind of the pre-ride went like that. But in reality, in the race day with the headwind, it just kept dragging on and on and on. It felt like forever. So I was just kind of managing the throttle, knowing that last really punchy climb or steep, long climb was coming, and I didn't want to have to get off and walk or cramp or something like that. So I just played with my effort a little bit, and made it. Finished 7th overall, 6th male, 140 to 49 age group. So that's pretty cool. But gravel racing's hard, man. It's really hard.
Yeah, it is.
It's very hard. This is a local gravel race, and there's a lot of good people that come from out of town. That mix it up in the front of these larger races. So I've come to the reality that life at the front, especially in this style of racing, is not always going to be what it is.
It's a legit race at the front of these.
Yeah, there was a lot. I was surprised riding along. I saw a ton of people from Wisconsin. And it's man, if we had to drive 5 hours, you guys must have had to have driven 12 10. Or something.
Yeah, depending on where you're from, especially if you're from the far Northwoods.
Yeah.
Speaking of Wisconsin people, I was riding next to Nick Hand for a while, and he reached out to you, Rob.
He's not in Wisconsin. He's down in St. Louis.
Is he?
Yep.
I thought he was from Wisconsin. My apologies, Nick, if you're listening. But we were riding next to each other for a little while.
Quick note. He'll be joining us next week on the podcast.
That's right. He had a Pastoria kid on, or a Pastoria kid on. That's right, which is a St. Louis-based team. I should have known.
Yeah.
But we were riding. It was kind of right before the race popped off. We were getting to one of these climbs. We had just descended a little climb. We were kind of traversing through the woods, and we started to go up a small little grade. And he's, I'm kind of to his right-hand side. There's a rider in front of me, and the rider in front of me gets squirrely, cuts Nick off. Nick goes into the weeds, and then I dodged that guy, and then Nick's got this giant stick stuck in his spokes, and it's just like da, 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 da. I'm like, he's gonna have to get off for that one. So that was the last I saw of him. But yeah, it's cool. It's a good experience to chew on your stem for 3 hours.
Yeah.
There's no really other way to put it.
Yeah.
Literally, especially climbing some of those climbs. And fucking 34, just chewing the stem.
I made friends with my 31, 36.
Yeah.
Jealous.
I mean,
it was nice to have. I had no problems, but whatever.
You
just go slow.
The mullet setup is the popular thing. Everyone's got a 52 in the rear.
Well, if you're right,
I don't.
Yeah. How was your race?
During the race and immediately after the race, I was really upset. My legs lit up on the first climb and never shut up the whole race. I felt like I couldn't put any power down.
First climb being the long one.
Yeah, the first long one with the switchbacks. My back started hurting really bad on that climb. I was like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And my legs hurt. I actually got off the bike at one point on the climb and just laid on my stomach and did like a cobra stretch because it helped shut my back up.
Oh wow.
Got back on the bike and I was just like trying to think, scrambling in my brain, like what else do I need to do to manage the pain? And my legs just hurt. And I was just like, it is what it is, in hindsight.
Yeah.
I'm trying to navigate a little bit of a change for me recently that seems to be telling me that I need more recovery than I am accustomed to. And when I take that extra recovery, then I feel good, but I'm used to being able to turn around and recover in a certain period of time. And I think I tried to squeeze in a little bit too much on the bike and in the gym before this race, knowing that I wasn't really caring about the race per se. I was looking at it as a training ride, but not thinking about the fact that I was just going to be hurting. My legs hurt. I was like, oh shit. Okay. So I felt weak, and I felt like I was in pain the whole time, and I had to stop a ton of times just because I was just like, I just need to take a break from the pain in my legs. And then I could get, a quick stop, 10, 15 seconds, get back on and start pedaling, and then I would be okay. But at no point did I ever feel like I was really putting any good effort on the pedals. Well, no, I'll take that back. There was a few times where I'm like, oh, I feel good right now. Maybe it's coming around, and that would, 15 minutes later, it's like, oh, okay, now we're back where we were. It's like, all right. So it was a mental, just every minute. It's like, what can I be doing right now to help myself? Do I need to ease off? Do I need to stop, take a quick break? Can I stand up and stretch as I'm pedaling? And I was just constantly working through all the things I could think of that would help me get to the finish, without just stopping for a long period of time. And I'm like, well, I don't want to just stop and sit. That doesn't get me to the finish. I just need to keep pedaling, but just take short breaks. And I just kind of negotiated with myself constantly the whole time. So I never really felt like I got to enjoy it, which was kind of a bummer because it's beautiful. But the descents are wicked fun. I love that part. I absolutely just let them rip on every single one of them. And that's always been, my favorite part of races with hills is the going down the hills, especially when it's gnarly and gravelly and full of potholes and stuff. And it just it gets my adrenaline pumping, and it gets me excited. And I actually go faster. So that part of it I liked. So I was super bummed when I realized my finish time was 40 minutes slower than last year's. But then I also realized that everybody's times were a lot slower than they would have been last year because of the wind this year.
Yeah.
So, on my Garmin file, my pedaling time was 4 hours and 40 minutes. My finish time was 4 hours and 50 minutes. So there was 10 minutes of all my little accumulated stops.
That's not bad.
So I don't know. It is what it is. I'm just thinking to myself, well, I hope that accumulated some strength into my legs, recover from this, and just move forward. So
I think what it did more for you is a mental exercise versus a physical exercise, for sure.
Oh, 100%.
You went into it with not really looking for a race result. You just wanted to have a good training day.
Yeah.
You didn't get that good training day because of all the stops. So the stimulus you were looking for the training, you probably got something, but you got a mental victory out of that, and that's probably better than physical training stimulus.
I'm proud of the fact that I fought through to the end and kept just trying to use my head and think around what else can I do? What else can I do? Make sure I stayed on top of my food and my fluids and all of that, and get the job done. So
there's not too many. From what I remember, looking at the map and the file, there's not too many roads to I'm not feeling it, and just kind of shortcut back towards home on.
Right.
You can't do that without going up some steep hills.
Yeah, exactly. So, but overall, the whole weekend was an absolute blast, mainly because of staying with Rob and Peter Mearsman and Michael Matson. And these guys are flipping hilarious, especially Rob and Peter feeding off each other. I laughed so hard so many times that I was like, this trip was worth it for that part of it. Yeah. So we had a good time.
I don't remember feeding off of anything.
You two are hilarious together, but whatever. Anyway, Rob.
Yay.
How was your race?
You guys are just laughing because you already know.
We know, but people don't.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. Obviously, I hadn't been there before. I knew that there was a lot of climbing, so I was just going to try to put myself in a happy place and enjoy it, and just see the sights, not expecting anything. And I was looking at this as a good opportunity to get out and do something I wouldn't normally do this early in the season. So have some fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
I also kind of didn't want to do what I did at Barry in terms of just holding back all the time. I kind of wanted to punch it a little bit early and just be like, yeah, if you pay the price later, so be it. And I went out to do the 100K. I started way back because I did not want to get, up where everybody else was because, didn't want to get in anybody's way. I'll take my time. As a result, though, when we started actually rolling, I passed a lot of people early on, and which was fun. But just kept rolling along. At some point, I ended up getting caught up with, or Lisa caught up with me, or I caught up with Lisa Lim, and we rode together for a long time. Either I think she would drop me on the hills going up, and I'd pick her up on the way going down. The descents were fun, yada yada yada. I know how I kind of am set and where I dress like temperature wise now, apparently. And so I was like, looking at this, but the real feel, I'm going to have at least one more layer on. So I went a little bit heavier than I traditionally would have if I looked at just the raw temperature, knowing that we were going to climb, but, no big deal. Then we started that big climb at about mile 10, and I knew it was coming. Matson had told me, and then a guy I was riding with earlier in the day was like, yeah, this is coming like 10 miles in. So we started climbing it. I knew it was a big climb. I just got in my happy place and just started rolling it, and was feeling really good about it, and pretty much was like, yeah, I got to be coming close to the end. And then I realized my Garmin was saying it was like 2 miles long. And
Really? I remember it felt long as hell.
Like it was almost 3 miles long. I think it was like 2.9
Wow.
or something like that.
All off road.
Yeah. And then I took a look to my right, and I kept hearing voices and stuff like that. And I was like, hell's going on? I took a look to my right, and then I looked up and realized that we were doing a switchback and coming back on that other side. And I was looking up at the next road I was going to be riding, and I was like, oh, this is going to keep going for a while. So that was fun. Got up close to the top. I didn't get off, didn't stop, didn't stall, just cranked it, and I actually kept upshifting and then downshifting, just kind of give myself a little variance in the load. And really wanted to get out of the saddle, but you just can't on that kind of stuff.
Nope.
You can get out for maybe 2 pedal strokes, and then you got to get back in and sit down because you just lose so much traction. But I thought it went really well. There was like 2 or 3 times during the climb where I was like, I am desperately overheating. I need to get a layer off, and thought about taking it off, or I was just ignore it. Just get through the climb, ignore it for now. So I got up to this section where I basically thought it was the top, and there were a lot of people collected there, and they were all shedding a layer. And I was like, yeah, it's a good spot to shed a layer. Pulled off to the side, stopped, took off my helmet, I pulled my balaclava off, and my glasses came flying off with it, and I caught them between my arm and my body. And I remember thinking at the time, geez, that was a hard slam. I hope they're okay. But they've been through hell, they're good. And I took off the other stuff, started stowing it, and then I grabbed my glasses, and only one half of the glasses came with me. So I had snapped my glasses in two at the nose, basically on the bridge, but over by one of the lenses. So really awkward spot to split it, and they were split clean. So there was no coming back from that. And I just kind of did the mental math real quick and went, I'm on top of some hill. I don't want to call it a mountain, but a very tall hill in southern Illinois, not near anything. And everybody I know down here is on a bike somewhere. So I got no backup here.
Got to figure this out.
Yeah. I texted my wife and just said, hey, FYI, I broke my glasses. I'm going to keep riding for now, but we're going to see what happens. So, but there was still some climbing after that point where I was at, and then descending it, and then descending that with no glasses, was an experience. I went way slower than I normally would have, but I still kind of went a little fast and just did one of those, oh well, if it's my time, it's my time, and then mix that with a little bit of, gee, I don't really want to fall and get hurt and then mess up most of the year not being able to ride. That would kind of suck. So just grab a little extra break here and there. Got down to the bottom and saw some people working the turn where you got back out on the road at the bottom of it, and asked them, hey, do you guys have any tape? Guy, super nice, really was trying to help me out and wrap the glasses, and that's when I realized it was in a spot that you couldn't just easily tape together and keep rolling. And I was like, this isn't good, but we're going to see what happens. So Melissa Zamet on our team rolled up right then and was just like, oh, fancy meeting you here. And she was saying that her knee was bothering her. And so she wasn't sure what she was going to do at that point. Up until then, I had still been thinking I was just going to do the whole thing. And I was just going to learn how to ride without my glasses on. But we just kind of tooled along for a bit. And she goes, oh, we're coming up to the turn for the shorter course to only do the half. And I was like, and she kept debating, I might just turn and only do half because my knee's hurting, this and that. And you could tell it was one of those situations where it was like, I'll do the shorter course if you do the shorter course. Okay, let's go do the shorter course. So we both decided to go and do the shorter course. Good choice. Big thing for me was being able to follow her and actually know where a line was through some of this stuff, because it was kind of hard to see. I only hit a couple big potholes, but I was like, hey, wheel testing, who cares? Did the last bit, did the water crossings, got back there, and at first I was going to be really mad with myself because I was like, I came out here all the way down here to do, 100K and get a lot of time in the saddle. But then, it was fun having somebody to ride with, talking to them, hanging out, seeing everybody else. I would assume the scenery was nice. I couldn't see it. But I know at one point Melissa's like, hey, there's a nice little waterfall over there. And I'm like, I'll take your word for it. But then getting back, doing that last, I was able to actually just kind of lay my power out on that last hill because I had nothing to hold on to it for. And I think I ended up, they did jump me over in the scoring to the short course, and I ended up like 40th or something, 40 something out of 150 or something like that in the short course. So, and that was stopping, I want to say a good 15, 20 minutes worth trying to fix the glasses and taking off the layers and everything else. So, not too bad. And afterwards realized if I went back down there, I would have to think long and hard about doing the long course or racing the short course as hard as possible, because I think I could actually do well there on the short course, especially now that I know what's coming and what's on it. But but it, got back, I was able to change, get something to eat, get a beer in me, and right about then is when I heard the guy go, and finishing now is Tim Strelecki, so I got to watch you finish, and then hang out with that. So it was a fun day of sitting there rooting everybody else on, seeing everybody else finish. But I Monday went to the eye doctor, and I just got a text about an hour ago. My glasses are ready, so I should go and pick those up at some point. But no, so on the way back, I'm wearing my glasses. For those that are watching on YouTube, I'm actually wearing my glasses right now, and that's because on the way back, Leah was driving. Thank God, because I couldn't see shit, and it was her car. We stopped at a Home Depot. What town? I don't even know what town it was.
Murfreesboro, I think.
And I got out and got some plastic resin epoxy, and I sat there on the pavement in the middle of the parking lot, holding two halves of the glasses together while this epoxy set up, and basically swearing the whole time because it was getting all over the place and I couldn't control it. And Mearsman was helping me try to do it, and he was a little bit awkward, and he kept saying, "I am so sorry that I'm not better at helping you do this," and he just kept saying, but he kept going, "But thank you for being so nice and kind and not yelling at me." So that's kind of how my weekend went. It was a lot of fun to do the trip. I mean, I did enjoy that, and it was fun to ride my bike. The pre-ride was nice, for what we did. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was super nice and warm.
Yeah,
75 degrees.
Yeah, it was nice to get down there and get on the bike in some bibs and just a short sleeve. I did wear arm warmers though, I think.
You did.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that, but
well, because you get in the wind, whatever. Yeah. I did have a vest. I packed the vest away though. But yeah, no, so that was fun. I can't complain. Off to a good start, I hope. We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yeah. So what's coming up? What's coming up for you guys?
Next week we're going to talk to Nick Hand. Nick is the owner-operator, I believe, of TW Carvin down in the St. Louis area. I will say I don't know the exact. I do know the exact. I just can't remember off the top of my head. He did do some carbon repair for me on my Boone last year or 2 years ago. I can't remember. For those that are keeping track, I think it was 2 years ago that he actually did that. So he's done some work, some good work, does a lot of painting, stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get into some of those kind of tech issues next week. Leah, you may or may not be with us, depending.
Yeah, depending on our ride schedule. I'll be in Tucson for the next for 2 weeks. So
you said this last year. You're not coming on.
Yeah.
If we're done riding, and we're just sitting around, and I could fire up my either the laptop or my phone from the patio.
Yeah, so
jump in on the podcast.
She's not going to join us, so
we'll see. We'll see. I might be in the hot tub on the podcast.
Oh, but outside of that, I don't know. Tim, you're fighting something, you said, and I just started getting a sore throat kind of last night. I feel fine, but just getting hoarse,
No, I just got some nasal congestion, like I said. It comes like I either get it like once a year or once every 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't live like a hermit, man. I stay in my house all the time, or if I'm not in my house, I'm out riding by myself. So I take care of my immune system, but then when I get around a bunch of people, it's like,
Well, and a lot of hours out there in the cold wind. Some people say that has a difference to it, but I think a little bit of it is breathing in soil that you're not used to breathing in and stuff like that. That also, and travel puts a little abuse on the system.
I didn't sleep the night before the race very much.
Yeah, but then doing a lot of work. I ended up doing a lot of work when I came in. What, Monday? Was that Monday?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's Thursday. I'm still recovering from that, but maybe you want to tell everybody what we were doing.
Oh yeah, I got my bikes from Haro, and you are gracious enough of a friend and a mechanic to lend an entire day to building them up for me. So I'm very thankful for that. I mean, we spent the entire day doing it. The first the gravel bike took a while to figure out, just because we had to hodgepodge the front end together with all the internals and stuff like that. But we managed to do it, and then I was like, it was late, and I'm like, maybe we can come back and do the road bike tomorrow. And then you just grabbed it and started going. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to say anything, and you rifled that one off real quick. I mean, that one was pretty straightforward.
Yeah, that was a little easier when you had the solutions that we had for that. The difficult part is the internal routing. That's difficult with any bike at this point. And really, it becomes more of a matter of, what headset do you have? How are the spacers set up? And what stems are compatible and that kind of thing. So
good learning experience for me, because you asked me a question. I'm like, I don't know, dude. This is my first foray into freaking internal routing. I've never seen this stuff up close before. Like, You're like, what do you want? I don't know, dude.
Nah, nice bikes. I mean, you didn't explain those. So you're set up with Haro. You want to go with the? I mean, you kind of alluded to it the other week in the conversation.
Yeah,
But
I managed to secure this sponsorship through a conversation that just nonchalantly started at CABDA. I knew that Haro had entered the drop bar space, when they announced it. I think late in 2024, and I was psyched to see it. I'm like, that's pretty cool to see. Haro's always been about, it's like a lifestyle. They're about innovation and doing cool shit. And gravel's all the rage right now, and they wanted to jump into that space. And I think it's really, really cool that they're doing it, and they're willing to support people like myself. Yeah, it's just like it's the perfect fit. I don't know how to explain it, but like I said, I started talking with James. James is a guy that I've known from my BMX days, back when in the magazine days when print media was a thing. My best friend growing up was the editor for a magazine called Snap, and they had like a bicycle test force. I was one of the members, and James was part of that. And I don't know his official title. I forgot. It's slipped my mind. I think he might have been like assistant editor. I don't know. But I knew him through that. So I've known James for the better part of 25 years. We just haven't had contact since I left California in 2007. And then they were at CABDA. So I'm like, all right, let me go cruise over and see if who's here, who's representing the booth. And then James was there. So picked up right where we left off. Conversation felt like we hadn't skipped a beat in 20 years. And that's when like your friendship is real, when you can pick up a conversation that's super easy, not awkward, and you can just dive back in like we're just talking to this person yesterday.
yeah,
And that's kind of how our conversation went at CABDA. And he had explained some opportunities, and I told him what I was doing and what I was looking for, and we just kind of left it at that at CABDA. And then I reached out to him with a few more questions after the show a couple days later, and it just snowballed from there, and we worked something out. So it's super cool. I'm excited. Haro's been a huge part of my life, in the BMX scene. They were born in BMX in the 70s out in California. So I understand the brand. I understand the legacy of the brand. I know what the brand means, especially from its roots. And it's just cool to see them get into a different category. It's not going to be easy. I mean, we all know the drop bar space is very saturated. Everyone wants the latest and greatest, but it's just cool to be part of a brand with a legacy like Haro. I'm stoked, completely stoked.
Yeah, and I've seen them in here the other day. They're beautiful.
Yeah. So if you want to, if you're interested and I'm ever, out in a group ride or whatever, and you want to take my bike for a spin, I'll let you. I don't have a problem with that. So long as they fit. My bikes are kind of small. Sorry, guys.
and they're slammed.
Yeah. Well, not really. Not really.
Not really. There's one spacer in there.
No, the road bike's got like two, I think. But yeah, I mean that's always like the hard thing when you're switching your equipment, and especially when you gotta like stare at geometry charts and take measurements.
Yeah.
It's real nerve-wracking. And I think the way we've set things up is pretty good. I haven't gotten out and really ridden them outside just because it rained heavily the last 2 days, and dealing with what I'm dealing with, snow and a little bit of illness, and going to the dentist and getting some teeth pulled. It's just like, but we're getting some warmer weather, so I'll have a chance to get out and give them a real whirl.
We're giving the Tuesday night ride a bit of a roll next week, because as the weather's supposed to be like 70 degrees or something like that. So you're more than welcome to roll up on us and drop our asses if you want to,
Well, like I said, I told you politely when you were gracious enough to lend an entire day to build these, you'll be touching them again because we'll have to make things.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
I don't think we're too far off. That's the good thing. I don't think we're too far off. I think maybe a little bit here or there, stem length maybe, but I know that in titles, a laundry list of
stem. I can see you changing stems, but the stems are going to be the thing. They'll be.
Other than that, I just got to figure out power meters for both of them.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I got a response back, by the way, so I got to hit you up with that. Yeah.
Okay.
There's no difference.
Yeah.
It's just basically what it is. Anyway, enough of the cryptic talk. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
So no, good, beautiful bikes, road and gravel. Should be lighting it up.
Yeah, I can't wait. Can't wait. I'm excited. There's a thing that never, it always comes out when you're little. It's called New Bike Psych. It's still a thing.
Oh yeah.
Like they were supposed to show up Monday, and I was kitted up. I had got home from Dirty South on Saturday night. We powered through and drove all through the night. I got home.
I can't believe you guys did that. Did you guys trade off at all?
No. Halfway through, I was like, "Why the hell are we doing this?"
Yeah.
But we got it done. Got home. I had to go to John's house, and Darcy had to come pick me up from there. So it was a late night. I still got home at like 10 o'clock. No big deal. But I got up Sunday to go for a ride. And I was all kitted up, about to step out the door, and then FedEx truck pulls up.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Oh, could this be
Santa's here?
Yeah, and you don't see the guy for like a minute or two, and then he pops out with a bike box, and you're like, oh, probably way back to my BMX days when I would get packages from like GT and stuff sent to my parents' house on Long Island, and the UPS guy would always show up and have new bikes and stuff. It was a really cool moment.
Yeah. I can imagine.
That's awesome.
There's not a lot of brands that are willing to support older athletes these days, unless you're, an influencer or a YouTube superstar. So
well, I would say you're an influencer and a YouTube superstar. So,
well, thank you, but I mean, I don't know how to follow that.
and I'm prom queen, so
There you go.
Yeah. So
right.
I'm fortunate.
So we're looking forward to that. What's the next event for everybody? For me, I think it's Rough Road, I guess.
Well, Autobahn.
Is Autobahn before that?
Mm-hmm. It's the weekend before.
Man, I don't want to have to try crit.
Time trial. Do the time trial.
I don't know though. I was thinking during this last thing, while I was climbing, I'm starting to think about horrible hilly hundreds, and I've always done that on a road bike. I'm now starting to think I might do it on a gravel setup, and just maybe change the wheels.
Yeah, just put a set of like 32s on.
Yeah, you could.
32 slicks would be fine.
I could do my 50
just
millimeters.
The gearing, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely a course that gearing would be handy to have. I'm a little sad that I'm a little limited with the crank that I have on, that I can't go smaller than a 34, because I could have really used that 31 at Dirty South, but I might fix
I really enjoyed mine.
Yeah.
I mean, oh, go ahead.
I don't know. I have to make a decision if I'm going to change the crank so I can get better gearing.
I was definitely happy we switched from 5236 to 5034 for Dirty South. I used the little ring a lot. I thought 36 would have been hard, but limited in the back with a 34. So
I had an interesting conversation during that event with somebody who's dedicated SRAMmy, let's say, who said that they're building a bike and they're going to 2x. So even on a SRAM setup, so I'm not exactly sure what they got planned, but they said they're definitely going to 2x for gravel for their next build. Actually, I had two people tell me that, because on occasion I would go, oh yeah, I'm in the wrong ring. And whoever I was riding with would be like, you're in a 2x, and yeah, I forgot to shift the front, and they'd be like, I really kind of wish I was in a 2x, so it's interesting. Yeah. I haven't heard that from a lot of people, but I'm hearing it more and more frequently. And I've said it here, I can't imagine doing gravel without a 2x, but that's me. So.
No, I mean, it's horses for courses, You gotta like, if you have the means to do both, one will certainly serve whatever kind of course you're racing better than the other. I mean, they'll both get the job done.
Yeah.
It's personal preference. Like on my new gravel bike, I'd love to put a 2x on it, but I got a 1x on it right now. I'd love to take my whole rotor setup and throw it on there, which I think we could do.
Probably could.
It's a Shimano spindle.
Yeah.
24 mil. So that's what by the bottom bracket that's in there. But we can discuss that later. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You've probably done more work on my bike. My bike's plural in the last 3 months than you probably have everyone else's in a year.
I got to think maybe I didn't wait. No, I built my bike last year, so I'll say no. I built 2 bikes for myself last year, so I'll say no.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm thankful.
Only because I spent a lot more time looking through all the catalogs and talking to reps and all the other kind of stuff. Except for that DI2, 12-speed DI2 for both of those groups. I just bought them sight unseen. I didn't even know what the group specs were because it was all hush-hush at that point. It was all embargoed. So I didn't even know. I just knew that something was coming out, and it was DI2, and it was going to be GRX, and I wanted it. So I just put in for the pre-buy. Didn't even really know the full price. I was just like, I'm good. Get it for me. And then afterwards, it was like, hey, by the way, do I need to change anything on the bike? Like, is there a different standard I need or something like that?
There's always something.
So I was happy when it came out. And I don't know. I'm waiting for some new parts, new innovation. You know, you get the little itchy trigger finger wanting to buy something, but I don't think I need anything. I don't know, Leah, are you getting an itchy trigger finger? Because you can see a doctor about that.
No, no, not at the moment. I'm good.
That. Weren't we talking about you getting something in the last week or two?
Well,
that rotor crank.
Yeah, we were talking about that just to be able to get the smaller chain rings, and I have a chain.
No recourse right now.
I do have a road bike change coming up.
Oh, that's right.
BMC.
And that should be come any day?
By the end of March. So.
Okay, that would be any day then at this point. Yeah. So got that coming up. Hopefully, if you guys are listening, you've got a new itchy trigger finger for buying something. And hopefully it's some buttonhole chamois cream that you can pick up at your local retailer. Go ahead and make your way out to your closest shop and ask for it by name. It is sold online in a few places as well, too. Go ahead and take a look and pick some up and go ahead and make use out of it. Take care of that buttonhole because no one else will.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I didn't know if you were going to say if you got an itchy buttonhole.
I don't know how well it works on itches. Let's just, I was going to follow that up with, but I've heard it works great for bitches. I'm sorry.
Oh boy.
It rhymed, Right. By the way, I would be the bitch in question. So, grab yourself some tingle or some non-tingle available at your finer local bicycle establishment. If they don't have it, tell them to ask for it from us. Looking for a good spring. I think I mentioned it. We've got some new labels coming out, but already interest in it seemed like it hit spring somewhere because the interest in the last probably 2 weeks has exploded. So that's a little bit of why I'm also like, I've just been labeling jars, filling jars, doing crap like that in between all the other stuff all week. So it's always fun. I enjoy it. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and let everybody go. We're almost at exactly 1 hour. We will join you again next week. We're hoping to have Mr. Nick Hand with us. If we can figure out all those details, and if we play our cards right, then maybe Leah won't be with us. But,
Yeah.
You never know. No, we're hoping that she can join us while she's having fun in Arizona with doing bike stuff.
Right.
We're probably actually it's going to be warm next week, so I'm not complaining. Never mind. So hopefully y'all can join us. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in. Obviously, give us a like, give us a share, give us a rating on whatever podcast app you're using to watch us. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe and go ahead and click the like button. That's what all the kids say. So I feel obligated to say it.
Smash the like button.
Smash it. So, all right. Thanks for joining us and enjoy the ride.